guys talked about your number one team, all right? Now I'm going to talk about the real number one team, okay? The Dallas Cowboys, all right? Listen, I know everybody hates the Dallas Cowboys, okay?
Such a joke.
Yeah, I don't listen. I love Dak Prescott. I loved Tony Romo before him. I loved Des Bryant when he was in his prime. That man was an absolute animal. Um, when I look at Dallas this year, though, Dak is coming off statistically in terms of a touchdown interception ratio and completion percentage, a very good year. QBR wise, it was a 54.6, so only 4 points above average, which is not very good. It's the worst in his career. But I think Dak coming off that horrific injury can kind of explain the inconsistent quarterback play of last year. So I expect him this year to produce at the same level, but have a more consistent quarterback play throughout the season. Because I think he's going to be able to trust that leg more. He's going to feel more comfortable in the pocket and outside the pocket. I love his intangibles. Like I said, I love his winning nature. He's a leader.
Do you love his late game management and his management before halftime on like McCarthy too?
Well, I would blame that more on Mike McCarthy, if I'm going to be honest.
We're gonna go into him. Yeah.
And listen, I'll just touch on Mike McCarthy real quick. Listen, Mike McCarthy is not a good head coach. All right, let's just be honest. The reason he was even a person of interest is because Aaron Rodgers made Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is not, and we've seen him be exposed in Dallas with this late game clock management, the challenges, looking up at the big screen like, oh, should I challenge it or oh wait, I can't challenge it because I threw the challenge flag in the foot and I messed up on that call. It's just too many mistakes from the head coach, and I think we all know why he's the head coach. It's because he won't cause any problems with Jerry Jones. He's going to do what he's told, and he's going to be the puppet master like Jason Garrett. Let's call a spade a spade. That's what Jerry Jones wants. He doesn't want a Harbaugh from Michigan who's going to be like, no, Jerry, get out of my way. I'm a head coach. I know what I'm doing. You have not won a Super Bowl since the 1990s, buddy. It is 2022. Change it up. And we thought we saw a little bit of that in I think it was 20. What was it? When did Zach Martin get drafted? That was the Johnny Manziel draft. That was
2014.
2014? Okay.
Yeah.
That's when we thought we start to saw the change. Because if you remember going into that draft, when they started getting closer to Dallas and Johnny Manziel was on the board, Jerry Jones wanted to take Johnny Manziel. That's been reported. He wanted to take Johnny. But Stephen Jones, his son, was able to convince him to be like, Dad, no, stop it. Basically like slapping his hand. Dad, enough. We're taking Zach Martin, okay? And look, and it panned out perfectly. Zach Martin is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer when his career is all said and done. And even before that, they took Tyron Smith in 2011. He's been great for basically a decade plus. They drafted Travis Frederick, who some people thought they reached for him, but they ended up having the last laugh because he turned out to be an all-pro center, one of the best in the league, if not the best. It sucks that disease cut his career short because he would have probably been in the Hall of Fame too if he kept playing at that level.
Do you want to talk about some of these teams' losses as well, by the way? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no. I'm going to get to the losses. And I was just about to get there. They drafted, they stole Lyle Collins in the draft. He's gone now. And they drafted Connor Williams a little bit later. He's in Miami now. So they've lost some offensive line, but they did draft in the first round this year Tyler Smith out of what college is he out of? Where's he from? Tulsa, I think.
Tulsa.
Okay, yeah. So Tyler, and he's going to start right away. Stephen Jones has already said that he's going to be the starting left guard coming into this season. The offensive line, if you look at it, Pro Football Focus ranked Dallas's O-line in 2020 27th overall. Last year they were number 1. So if Tyron Smith can stay healthy, if Tyler Smith can be a instant impact starter, which I have no inkling in my mind about it being that way. If you look at what the names I just named, all those 5 guys that Dallas was able to draft and basically work up to their highest level of potential, why would they not be able to do the same thing with Tyler Smith? So I believe in Dak Prescott. Now, I will say Ezekiel Elliott has not been Ezekiel Elliott since 2019. Since he signed that 6-year extension with 50 million guaranteed, which is a horrible deal. It was a horrible deal then. It's a horrible deal now. And he's splitting time with Pollard in the backfield. So Zeke needs to return to his old form. I 100% agree with that. Or he's going to be cut, or he's going to be traded, because I don't see Jerry Jones dealing with this much more. I mean, we just saw what they did with Amari Cooper. They had to pay him all that money to keep him away from Washington. He didn't live up to the contract because it was almost impossible to live up to that type of contract.
But don't you
And
think
go ahead.
Don't you think Zeke's more like Amari Cooper is one of the most inconsistent number one receivers in the NFL? I look at
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott and what he provides as a pass blocker, a pass catcher, and also a runner in between the tackles. That's kind of what allows Tony Pollard to be that, that complementary piece that's going to come in. He's going to change the pace, and that 1-2 punch makes him one of the best backfields in the NFL. Even if
Yeah,
Zeke,
but when you're paying Zeke all that money and he's not producing at the level that he should be, that his price tag is, it's not okay.
but
It's really not.
I understand where you're coming from. He's not to the back giving you 2,000 yards the way he was in 2018. But last season, he still gave you almost 1,300 yards. And he's one of the best blocking backs in the NFL. And like I said before, I mean, sure, he's probably not going to return to that form. It's highly unlikely given the fact he's getting older. But he just turned 27 last week. And I think this is a top 20 back. We're about to talk about some of the other backs in this division. I would much rather him over the guy the Giants have
Yeah,
paid
but
because
John,
of
you
what he
just
can.
said top 20 back and you're giving him a 6-year contract of 50 million guaranteed. You don't say top 20, you say top 10 when you're giving that kind of money.
And Brandon's 100% right. And with that amount of money that you're spending on him, for somebody that hasn't been this elite back since 2019, I've said it before on this podcast. I think running back is the most replaceable position in football.
I
A
agree.
long shot.
Yeah, and last season, I don't think it's much of a debate, but in that running back room, Tony Pollard last season was the better running back. So they're paying him this much money for his backup to run for 300 yards less than him.
And
Tony
Justin,
Pollard,
just to jump off that, John, you said he only had 1,002 yards this last season. He only rushed for over 100 yards twice.
I'm
Back to
talking
back
about total
games.
yards.
Yeah, total yards. Oh, total yards. Okay.
Yeah.
But I was looking at just rushing. I mean, 2 back-to-back games, 143 rushing yards and 110, and then nothing else over 100 yards that entire season. When you're only doing that twice, that's not good. And last point, I'll let JQ jump on his homeboy Dallas Cowboys. CD Lamb, he's got massive shoes to fill. I think we can all agree with wearing that number 88 and what that number means in Dallas Cowboy history with Michael Irvin and Des Bryant wearing those numbers. He needs to jump to it. He needs to be a true top 10 receiver and a true number 1 wide receiver this year. Amari Cooper's gone now. You're the guy. Michael Gallup's coming off a torn ACL. You're the guy now. You need to make a jump. You were drafted in a class with, just to name the top ones, Justin Jefferson, Henry Ruggs, Brandon Ayuk, Jerry Jeudy, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Chase Claypool, Johnny's guy, and Gabriel Davis, who had that insane 201-yard, 4-touchdown playoff record game for the Buffalo Bills. So it's time for CD to be the number 1. I expect 1,500 plus yards, 100 plus receptions, and 10 plus touchdowns. You need to produce this year, buddy. It's time.
That's facts. I think that everything you just said was facts. But if I'm a team game planning against Dallas, I'm double teaming CD Lamb all day, and I'm going to make them run the ball. I mean, Pollard's great, don't get me wrong, but like you guys were saying, they paid Zeke this money to be good. Like, his whole contract. Even Jerry Jones, I saw a tweet about it the other day, like reportedly, that Jerry Jones wants them to use Zeke more. Like, they want him to be the workhorse of this offense still. Like, they still think they have that guy in him deep down. And granted, he's battled injuries too, like the MCL sprain he had last year. It's tough. He didn't look the same. The guy plays through a lot. Like, I respect him a lot. I was a big fan of him when he was at Ohio State. And of course, he gets drafted by the team I hate the most. So then I'm like, of course, I can't really root for this guy. But 3 names that jump out to me that they lost is Amari Cooper. like we said, traded to the Browns. Randy Gregory signed with the Broncos. Cedric Wilson is with the Dolphins, and also too Connor Williams is signing with the Dolphins as well, one of their offensive guards. They lost a couple of those key pieces on the offensive line this year. That's why they dropped so far in the rankings. And I think that's really gonna hit home for them and be like, wow, like this is like we've been used to 10+ years of great offensive line play. Like this is gonna be the first year where they really struggle. And I hate to say it, I'm kind of very excited to see it because it's finally payback now. They get to feel what I've felt the past couple of years of my life when my quarterback says hike and there's three guys in his face immediately. So, but I think they'll be a good team still. Don't get me wrong, but I think they're going to have their ups and downs. And this is the first year everyone's going to be like, wow, like this team isn't all that. I mean, granted, they make it to the playoffs and then they lose to the 49ers, which I predicted. I saw that coming. But I still think good team overall, but their weak points they're gonna shine this year. You're really gonna see them. They're gonna poke through.
They've lost many key pieces, I feel like. DeMonte Casey and Keanu Neal in the back end as well. So I feel like, well, in the draft, they go and get Jalen Tolbert out of South Alabama. He's a bigger receiver, could take the top over a defense. This is going to be a developmental year. We're bringing these new pieces to the draft, and these guys are going to have to be able to step in and play legitimate snaps as first-year players. And I think for a Cowboy team, when you speak of Mike McCarthy, will he be here past the season? I would expect him not to be, but it's the Cowboys, so you literally don't know what the intention is.
John, he's gonna be here for the long haul because of what I said. He's the perfect puppet for Jerry Jones. Jerry doesn't want somebody causing trouble, and he's the guy for it. I hate it too. I think and I heard I listened to Undisputed a lot and First Take, but Skip Bayless was this huge Cowboys fan. He wanted Dan Quinn to take over as the head coach.
How about Sean Payton?
He talks about, huh?
Sean Payton, I feel like, is the obvious option.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, but we can't talk about Sean Payton right now because he's retired and he's still got. I'm pretty sure he's still got a contract with New Orleans, so whatever. But that would be, perfect, perfect world, Sean Payton. But Dan Quinn, the game, I forget which game he took over as the interim head coach for the Cowboys this year because I think Mike McCarthy had COVID. And Skip talks about how that was the first time all year that he saw the energy on the Cowboys bench. Like the team was actually, ramped up and ready to play. And Dan Quinn, he got that team ready. So you don't see that from Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy's not a motivator. He's not even really an X's and O's guy. He's just there, to be honest. I'm sorry. He's really just there. And it's just it's embarrassing. Like it's like Jerry wants to control everything on his team. And it's so hard because nobody can really tell him, yo, you have been losers for the past how many years? 20 years plus you've been losers. It's time to change it up.